Okay, we have Bukola Shonibare in the studio. She's a member of the Bring Back Our Girls movement. Very warm welcome, Bukola.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a long day for the BBOG campaigners like you. But I want to start with the issue of data because a lot of us out here are saying it's 82, some saying 80, and I just read again 91. What is the importance of, data in having an accurate number of the abductees? I'm talking about the Chibok girls, and how many do we even know that have died during this period?
So right from the start of the abduction, that first few weeks, there was that complete denial. And even when the state government acknowledged that there has been abduction of the Chibok girls, they literally, reduced the number. They said all but 4 or 8 had been rescued at the time. But it put on the table the question of how many girls were even abducted in the first place. Because if you don't have data, numbers to know how many girls we are looking for, you don't understand the enormity of the work that needs to be done. First, the enormity of even how the abduction took place. The fact that 200 and something girls were taken. I mean, just calculate how many eloxes, how many buses you would need to do that. That's on one hand. But on the side of the supply side, which is the government, it is also the issue around logistics of what you would need to be able to rescue that number of girls. But back to the issue of numbers. There is 91 on the table, there is 89, there is 82. But that puts on the table the importance of data. Now, right now, if we keep saying that there are 82, the government says that there are 82 girls that we need to bring back or account for. Now, Invictus Africa collected this data last year, up until when the last girl came back on August 14, 2023. And we realized that there were additional 8 names that were repeated in 2 of the rescue that we have had, i.e. the 21 and the 82. So there were names that kept being peddled as names of girls that have been brought back. And so there is that discrepancy as to what the number is. But to close my thought on the importance of data, data helps us know the names and the faces of those that we are looking for. Data also ties to the issue of the missing persons register, which we campaigned for under the movement. And then we had meetings. I remember that I was designated to also go for some of the meetings at the National Human Rights Commission. Efforts were made. The process started, and then you expect the operationalization of the National Missing Persons Register. But that never happened.
It has not seen the light of day.
So till date, Nigeria does not have an official National Missing Persons Register. If we had one, names of these Chibok girls, for instance, will be there. At least we have an accurate figure. Names of other nameless and faceless people that we don't even know
that have
been abducted before Chibok and after Chibok. Captivity. Yes, will be brought back. At least we remember Leah Sharibu. We know the 91 girls. How about the ones that we don't know?
What a shame. And why is government still quiet, sealed lips about the 10th year anniversary of the Chibok school girls? Particularly if you underscore it that this abduction occurred under the then governor Shetima, who today is the vice president. Does it show, lack of care, concern, for this children that are still not back to their parents and the rest? And of course, you want to throw more light too, that more than 2-3 dozens of the parents of these girls, have passed.
It's quite instructive that our current vice president was the governor of Borno State at the time that the girls were abducted. So one would expect actually, that the vice president would take this issue so importantly that the government should have issued an official statement today. As I speak to you, except one is being issued right now. The federal government, the state government, the federal government in particular, where we have the vice president, who was then the governor, have not issued any official statement. Why is that important? It means that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is acknowledging that we have an unresolved issue. the fact that 90-something girls are still missing. Section 14, subsection 2B of the Constitution says the primary purpose of the government shall be the security and welfare of the people. We failed them in security. The fact that those girls were abducted was a failure of the government on security. But then, shall we continue to fail them in welfare? Welfare then means that at least even if it is just on that yearly basis, we don't hear anything any longer from the government as to what is happening with the Chibok girls. The only time you tend to hear something from somebody in government is when a girl escaped or has been rescued by our gallant officers, or just walked out, and then you hear that they've taken the person and then there's photo ops and all of that. But you don't see any official commitment that is being made. Even the budgetary allocations that have been made, record shows that over 1.4 billion naira has been allocated or donated for the purpose of education, rehabilitation, resocialization, reintegration of the Chibok girls. There is currently no accountability to that effect. So back to that question that you asked, one would expect that the vice president would take this very serious because they were his children at the time that those girls were abducted. You also asked the question about the girls that are dead. Some of the girls that have returned have come to put the figure to say 18 girls have actually died when they were there. The federal government has not given any official figure as to the number of girls that have died in abduction. Why is that important? Closure. We must not be a nation that leaves wounds, national wounds like this open. We have examples of how we have left wounds open. 1967 to 1970 will give you an example of the Civil War, and we still deal with that open wound till today. We must be a nation that prioritizes closure, proper strategic closure that involves the community that are affected, the parents, the family members. What does closure mean to them? If you have the names of those who have died, sit their parents down, apologize to them, tell them their children have died, prioritize their welfare so that they can also have closure. But what are we doing? We're just keeping quiet about it. And that in itself is failure on the part of the government in relation to welfare, according to Section 14, subsection 2B of our Constitution.
Are we doing anything, to prevent recurrent? 10 years after we've seen, the latest was in Kaduna, more than 200 and something pupils were
even taken. That there was dwindling figures.
Yeah,
because we were 287 and then 137.
Yeah,
so Invictus also collected data on this, and what we did was to look at April 14, 2014 to April 13, 2024. How many abductions have we had? And then we tracked all of it. Data shows that there has been at least 20 abductions of primary and secondary school children between that period
from
of time.
Borno to Katsina to Niger
to Sokoto to Katsina to Kaduna to Zamfara to all of this. So and then they are not just primary, secondary, they are also children from Islamia.
Yeah, and the Sokoto one.
Yeah, so we currently have a record of 1,754 primary and secondary school children that were abducted, including Islamia. When you expand that to tertiary institutions, I must give credence to SBM Intelligence on this. SBM Intelligence collected more data and included tertiary institutions. If we include that, it means that we are looking at least 38 school abductions and at least 1,905 or 920 something school children. And that brings us back to the question that you asked. And I read out that figure for you to know that currently both the government that was there then and the government now, we are not seeing any commitment or effort being made to put every school in Nigeria within the parameters of the security and safety measure that has been defined by the Safe School Initiative. Nigeria is party to the Safe School Declaration. We signed that following the abduction of the Chibok girls. That declaration set a minimum standard of security and safety of all of schools. So it means that pick a model school. I have been to all of the schools in Chibok, including the school where the girls were abducted. Many of them were not fenced. And then that is just Chibok. How about many other schools? Under the Safe School Declaration, 88,000 schools were mapped as hotspots. Now, what figure do we have right now as to the implementation of the Safe School Declaration or the Safe School Initiative, so that we have every school meet a minimum standard of security and safety? And it is not too much, sir. It is saying perimeter fencing of a certain height. It is saying training of security personnel. And in fact, I recall when we were developing the policy, we asked ourselves, do we want the security personnel to be inside the walls of the school or outside? We said they should be outside so that we don't militarize the school, and that they should be within certain perimeter. It is also about muster point. It is about training of the school children and even the teachers and all personnel in the school, so that in case there is any kind of occurrence like that, they will know what to do. We don't have any model school right now in Nigeria that we can say this is the model safe school initiative. 10 years of abduction of the Chibok girls is an opportunity for the government to say we take this issue seriously. First, acknowledge that we know that there are girls still waiting to be brought back and make a commitment to that effort. Second, start picking each of those 88,000 schools, even start with 5, and have a model safe and secured school so that there can be replication. And you can set that as standard for private schools as well, because the abductions that have happened is not just in public schools, it's also in private schools. Think of what happened in Ekiti. That was a private school, a bus that was conveying them. So again, just to close my thoughts on that question, that 10 years of abduction of the Chibok girls is a reminder of failure of the government, but we must not keep failing. It is an opportunity for us to do what we should have done before now.
Nigeria must not keep failing.
At all.
Thank you so very much. No better place to drop the anchor. Dear Buki Shonibare, she's a lawyer and a member of the Bring Back Our Girls. Thanks for your efforts.
Thanks for having me.